In 2019, Emma, a 38-year-old Bangalore software engineer, sat down with his accountant and discovered he'd lost 42 lakh rupees to forces he couldn't even name. He'd done everything right, stayed employed, never gambled, never took risky loans, yet the money simply vanished. What he didn't know then, and what you're about to discover, was the one thing that could have changed everything. And this is for educational purposes, not investment advice. She has an FD. She has a mutual fund. She even has an endowment policy her uncle suggested. And yet, by the time she is 63, 40 lakh rupees will have evaporated before she ever had a chance to spend it. The math doesn't lie, and today we are going to trace every rupee of that leak. Let's start with the first trap. Your savings account and your fixed deposit are not safe. They feel safe, but safety is an illusion when inflation is running faster than your interest. The RBI has tracked consumer price inflation averaging around 5% annually over the last decade. Your savings account pays 3.5%. That gap, 1.5% every year, is not a rounding error. It is a slow bleed. Here is the exact math on the savings account trap. Say you keep 4 lakh rupees parked in a savings account for 10 years. At 3.5%, you think you are earning. But after 5% inflation, your real return is negative 1.5% per year. Over 10 years, that 4 lakh rupees has lost roughly 5 lakh rupees in purchasing power. You did not lose money on paper. You lost it in real life, quietly, invisibly. Now let's move to fixed deposits, because most Indian families treat FDs as the gold standard of safety. An FD at 6.5% sounds decent. But if you are in the 30% tax bracket, the post-tax yield drops to 4.55%. Subtract 5% inflation, and your real return is minus 0.45%. On 50 lakh rupees in FDs over 10 years, that is roughly 2.5 lakh rupees in silent purchasing power destruction. The bank is not stealing from you. The math is. Let's talk about mutual funds, because this is where the numbers get truly uncomfortable. AMFI data shows that Indian investors hold over 50 lakh crore rupees in mutual funds. Most of those investors have no idea what their total expense ratio, their TER, actually costs them in rupees over 20 years. The industry average TER for actively managed equity funds sits around 1.5 to 1.7%. Some funds charge 2% or more. This does not sound like much. But compounding is the only free lunch, and fees are the only free lunch in reverse. Here is how the fee math works over 20 years. Suppose you invest 10,000 rupees a month in a mutual fund. The gross return is 12% annually. A 1.5% TR brings your net return down to 10.5%. Over 20 years, the gross corpus would be 1 crore rupees. At 10.5% net, you get 82 lakh rupees. The difference? 18 lakh rupees, gone to the fund house in fees you barely noticed. If you are a salaried employee in your 30s, the next 60 seconds are specifically for you, because this fee drag compounds directly with your EPF and your SIP horizon, and the numbers are larger than you think. Now let's stack the tax drag on top of the fee drag, because they do not work separately, they compound together against you. Long-term capital gains tax on equity mutual funds is 10% above 1 lakh rupees annually. Debt fund gains are now taxed at your slab rate. If you are in the 30% bracket, every debt fund redemption is taxed at 30%. On a portfolio of 25 lakh rupees in debt funds over 15 years, the tax drag alone can consume 6 to 8 lakh rupees of your compounded gains. So let's count where we are. Inflation erosion on savings and FDs, roughly 8 to 10 lakh rupees over A. Lifetime. Mutual fund fee drag, 12 to 18 lakh rupees over 20 years. Tax inefficiency on debt and hybrid instruments, 6 to 8 lakh rupees. Broke is a math problem, and this is the equation most people never run. Now I want to show you something that changes everything. This is the turning point. Stick with me, what comes next reverses the entire argument. Most people believe a mutual fund returning 7% is giving them 7%. It is not. Here is the real math. Start with 7% gross return. Subtract 1.5% TR, that leaves 5.5%. Now subtract the effective tax drag, call it 1% annually on a mixed equity-debt portfolio. You are not building wealth. You are running on a treadmill that is slowly going backwards. The strategy most middle-class Indians follow, FDs plus actively managed funds plus an endowment policy, does not beat inflation after fees and taxes. It loses to it. Now here is where the math flips. Index funds tracking the Nifty 50 carry a TER of just 0.1 to 0.3%. The Nifty 50 Total Return Index has delivered 12.8% CAGR over 20 years per NSE data. Even after a conservative tax adjustment, the net real return on an index fund is roughly 5 to 6%. That is not just better than the actively managed alternative. It is the difference between retiring at 55 and retiring at 70. I told you there was a number that would flip the whole argument, and that net real return gap is it. Let's build the optimized framework, step by step. 40% of your investable surplus goes into equity index funds, Nifty 50 or Nifty Next 50 index funds. Fee, 0.3% or less. Long-term tax, 10% above 1 lakh rupees. This leg of your portfolio does the compounding heavy lifting. 30% goes into tax-advantaged instruments, ELSS for the Section 80C deduction, NPS Tier 1 for the additional 50,000 rupee deduction under Section 80CCD, 1B, and PPF for the 7.1% tax-free guaranteed return. NPS Tier 1 equity has delivered 13.4% CAGR over 10 years per PFRDA data. The remaining 30% goes into real assets, sovereign gold bonds, which pay 2.5% annual interest on top of gold price appreciation, and real estate if your ticket size allows. These hedge the inflation your paper portfolio cannot fully absorb. Now let's run the numbers that show why this rebalancing matters. Here is the comparison. The unoptimized path, FDs plus actively managed funds plus an endowment policy. After 35 years on 8 lakh rupees annual income, investing 25%, the real inflation-adjusted corpus lands around 1.8 crore rupees. The optimized path, 40% index, 30% tax-advantaged, 30% real assets. The same contribution rate. The same income. The corpus, 3.2 crore rupees by age 55. That is a 1.4 crore rupee difference. Here is what you do on Monday. Pull up every investment account you hold. For each mutual fund, look up the TER in the AMFI fund fact sheet. It takes 2 minutes. Write down the weighted average fee across your portfolio. Most Indians, when they do this math, find they are paying 1.2% or more. Now calculate what 1.2% compounded over 20 years costs on your current corpus. Use the formula corpus times 1.01 to the power of 20 minus corpus times 1 to the power of 20. If your weighted average TER is above 0.5%, there is a clear case to review your fund selection, not based on this video, but with a SCBR registered RIA who can run the full analysis. Now audit your tax-advantaged utilization. Have you used the full 1.5 lakh rupees under Section 80C? Have you used the additional 50,000 rupees under Section 80CCD, 1B, via NPS? If not, you are leaving a legal tax reduction on the table every single financial year. 70% of Indian taxpayers with incomes above 10 lakh rupees per annum do not fully utilize NPS Tier 1's additional deduction based on Income Tax Department return data. That is a decision worth revisiting with a qualified advisor. Finally, calculate your real return, not the number your fund statement shows, but the inflation-adjusted, post-fee, post-tax number. If it is below 4%, your savings strategy is statistically losing to inflation over a 30-year horizon. The framework in this video, 40% index, 30% tax-advantaged, 30% real assets, is one educational starting point, not a prescription. The 40 lakh leak is real. It is traceable. And it is stoppable. Run this math on your own portfolio, and for a plan tailored to your income and goals, a SCBI registered RIA is worth the consultation fee. Now go build it. See you in the next breakdown.